Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Star Trek Fleet fans. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the Glavin that I'm just unlocking here, completely free to play. How I'm taking it all the way to the top and using this as a springboard to talk about the incredibly overcomplicated, way too complicated way to do the maxing out of the Temporal Artifacts for those who weren't aware. But don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll understand how this works, why it works, and how to do it yourself. Let's go.
Fancy intro music, yeah! Woohoo!
So first, let's start with the Glavin itself. You can actually get it free to play in the Augment Faction store. This is a recent update that just came out allowing you to obtain what I believe is one of the better artifacts in the game. This was something that was a pay-only item for some time, cost money to get it, and then of course you had to go through the upgrade process, which we will cover in this video. But you can pick it up here as little as 20 epic cost currency a day, or you could do it in 80 or all the way up to 200. So here's the catch though. 8-hour cooldown. I mean, you can actually redo this quite quickly if you have the epic currency to turn in, but you got to get the epic currency. So whether you get that by farming the loot goblins, that DY 200 trader, or if you actually do it by doing the epic turn-ins, either way, you need those. And then once you have worked your way up, you'll find it here next to the Book of Coast Emoji. So once you unlock that, then you will have it appear in your Temporal Artifacts claims. So you're going to end up obviously unlocking it here. How much those shards actually cost in terms of how many shards you need depends on your Eye of Ra, which as you can see up here, I've maxed out the Eye of Ra, as well as anything else that can help your efficiency for artifacts. As a reminder, I want to remind everybody and show you that Lorca has an artifact efficiency that I'm really a big fan of, which is right up here called Artifact Efficiency, which increases your base artifact shard cost efficiency. And this stacks with the Eye of Ra. So those two together help making artifacts cheaper, meaning you need less to unlock and less to max out. But here's what ends up happening. Once you get Glavin tier 1, it gets added into your artifacts, your Temporal Artifacts menu, and it gets placed right next to the Book of Coast Emoji. And this is how you can actually get more shards. Now, mine is already maxed, as you can see. Once you hit level 8, you're maxed for the first time, and then you need Temporal Remnants to upgrade it. We'll cover that here in a second. But as you can see with like the Stone of Memory, I can come in here and then I can use these Temporal Disruptors to upgrade it. All right, we'll unlock more shards. You know what? How about we start from the beginning? How does the process work? Okay, so frustratingly, this is actually one of the more complicated loops in the game, and it's very annoying, but hopefully you'll be able to do this as soon as this video ends and be like, hey, I didn't realize I could take these things as far as I can. So it actually starts right here in the export faction where you can pull Temporal Disruptors every day. Now, what's the point of that? Well, the point of this is it's actually going into that silent hostile loop. If you remember, we're trying to hit silent hostiles there, which is this nice little Christmas tree over by Zindy space. And this is also part of our turn-ins in our artifact gallery. It's part of how we get our free-to-play sourcing for one of our primes, or a couple of our primes actually. Also, you can do this one right here, the temporal exchange, whether it be rare, uncommon, depends on your ops level, but that's the entire point. So we can pull more of those. And as you can see, that can also give you more Temporal Disruptors. So what do you use Temporal Disruptors for? Well, to unlock more shards to the Temporal Artifacts. That's one of the ways that you use Temporal Disruptors. You will also use it to get your Temporal Remnants. Now, the goal is you want to max all these out or get them to level 8, which is kind of their first maxing before they need remnants. As you can see, we have regular artifacts like these, and then you have the temporal ones, both of them requiring a different thing. So the Great Eye of Ra is always the first one we want to try to max out because, again, it's an efficiency, making everything else around it cheaper. So let's talk about that. How do we do that? Once we have these artifacts that are temporal and level 8, like the Glavin that we have now taken to level 11, right here, I'm gone blind. There it is right there. We've taken level 11. You see I need more Temporal Remnants to upgrade it again. So to do that, we're actually going to back out and we got to go over to the Refinery tab. Yep, lots of clicking, lots of movement, and go down into the Artifacts tab, and you're going to see this box right here. Now, what you'll notice is that this one says 5 level 8 Temporal Artifacts. There are actually multiple boxes here, 1, 3, and 5, and there's different payouts. Well, on this one, you get 90 Temporal Remnants guaranteed for doing 600 of the Temporal Disruptors. There's a better conversion rate once you get the 5 done. However, the first thing you really want to do is get the Eye of Ra maxed out because that simply makes all the other artifacts cheaper to upgrade, max, and unlock if you haven't unlocked them already. So just like you have the regular artifact system that goes into regular, see, got that one, but that's not the same currency. Regular artifact remnants, temporal artifacts have the same system, just separated. So then you need temporal remnants, which instead of using the actual artifacts themselves, you have to do this way. Now, here's the kicker. It is still the same in the aspect that you go into your temporal restorations once you have something level 8, and when you get more shards for these, you turn those into temporal disruptors. Now, how can you get more shards and stuff like this? Well, for example, you can get some of these temporal items directly from the Zindi Armadas. Yep, you're like, where did that come from? Out of the blue. I told you this was a complicated loop. So if you look in your Armada chest, remember we talk about these two pay out temporal artifacts. So you're going to get more of those temporal artifact shards, and instead of them being in the refinery to translate into remnants, they are in the actual artifact gallery and they turn into temporal disruptors. So number one, we get temporal artifact shards right here. We can use disruptors to get more shards. So as we max out more of these artifacts like this one, we then turn any Eye of Araz we have into temporal disruptors, and then we use those disruptors to max out or take to level 8 other temporal artifacts, important ones like Nero's Trident, you know, anything that you find valuable. And then once you have 5 of those, then you have the most efficient way to get the temporal remnants in the refinery. Now, again, like I said, I would encourage you to max out the Eye of Ra first, even with the worst version of efficiency, just so that you can lower all your cost. But step 1, get your temporal artifacts actually getting the levels of those unlocked, right? Step 2, max out the Eye of Ra. Step 3, then you want to start using those extra currencies you're getting, whether you get them from the Armadas or whether you get them from the pulls, and turning them into temporal disruptors. Use those disruptors to unlock and take to level 8 more of these. And then once you have finally done that process, you go back to the artifact gallery and you turn those extra disruptors that you have now earned into temporal remnants, so that you can then take all those temporal into tier 12, right? Got it. I think everybody understands now. Like I said, it's ridiculously complicated for no reason, but this is how you do it. So you get the Glavin free to play. Hopefully you're out there focusing on that. And if you're not maybe on that path, you still want to focus on maxing out these temporal artifacts because they're so powerful. And getting the Glavin has been a huge boost for me. If y'all remember, my ISO damage was at 173. Now I'm at 223. Very nice. But hopefully this video helps you out. Live long and plunder. Stay safe with those Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next Star Trek Fleet Command video. And I'm out.
I would like to request to Scopely to add more Klingons to the game. That is what I was told to do, and so I am doing it. Which, you know, is not maybe the best thing as a leader to just do what you're told, but it seems like a good request to make, to add more Klingons. Everything is better with Klingons, am I right? I am right, because I'm a Klingon. Klingon mach tach judge! We are Klingons, let it remain. All right, Rel's on a roll today. She's very excited.